A risk is defined as anything that has the potential to cause an unexpected event or loss. Risk exists in nearly every industry, including finance, transportation, and even healthcare.
Fire is an uncontrolled release of energy created by combustible materials that has dangerous impact. There are several tangible things in the healthcare equipment that might easily cause a fire. There are various factors that contribute to the probability of fires, but the following are some of the most significant ones in the healthcare industry. First is overloaded electric. One of the primary causes of fire in the healthcare profession is faulty of overloaded electrics. Next, there are numerous causes of fire danger, including staff failure to follow correct procedures when handling chemical substances. Besides, electrical malfunction also one of the factors of fire. Faulty of electrical outlet and all outdated equipment are the leading causes of electrical fires. Lastly is the lack of fire extinguisher. Fire extinguisher play a vital role in any protection plan in any environment. Next, we move to effect of fire to healthcare industry. Firstly, it will happen property damage. Rebuilding and repairing a factory following a fire can be expensive, especially considering all the resources that will have to be devoted to get the factory back up and running. A proactive approach can prevent fires from breaking out in the first place. Besides, injury or death are the common effect of fire. Other than that, income loss also one of the effects. Last but not least is the explosion. When there are too many flammable material, the percentage of explosion might be high to happen. For financial method of pure risk, which is fire, there are two takaful products we suggested, which is from CIMB Islamic Bank, which is Fire Plus Takaful, and one more is from Takaful Malaysia, which is Takaful My Fire. Non-financial method for pure risk. First is fire detection system. Next is fire safety training. Other than that, emergency plan. Next, maintain machinery and electrical items. And lastly is store any chemical safety.
Speculation risk. This risk that applies to the options. Example of speculation risk is gambling and investment. Investment fluctuation. Investment is an activity that involves the processing of materials and resources to make a profit. Investment is an unpredictable activity. If it makes a profit, company will make a huge profit. If it loses, the company will suffer a very significant loss. Okay, let's move on to the cause of the investment fluctuation. Number one is lack of skill. Investment is one of the difficult skill to learn. Need to learn how to invest properly with expert and experience to avoid lose. Number two is poor infrastructure makes capital for investment limited and make profit unattainable to the maximum. In addition to the weakness of the infrastructure of the association, making the investment impossible to carry out effectively. Non-competitive market. On the off chance that therefore was no rivalry in the market sector, organization would disaggregate mechanical trend of event and cost decrease in the overs. cost and administration would turn out to be more worthwhile to organization, and purchaser would bring about no receipt of advantage. And the last, externalities are costs that have to be paid by the producer but do not use the money, and the producer is not the party who pay it, but the society that has to bear it. For example, is forest destructions, environmental pollution, and so on. Let's move on to the effects. All medical staff. With a lack of fund, hospital will experience a shortage of medical supplies. They have to use all tools to treat patients. The disadvantage of all items is that they are not suitable to be used to treat new patients such as COVID and so on. Number 2 is lack of capital. Capital is very important in continuous sector. In the healthcare sector, the salaries of employees, nurses, and so on are among the capital that needs to be released to run hospital. Increase in operational costs. High operating costs make many sectors fail. In the healthcare industry, they are also struggling. Investment is one of their measures to overcome this. If they fail, they will run out of money and cause their money position to become unstable. And the last one is lack of supplier. Investment is a source of money that is needed to run the operation. Various items needed in the healthcare industry to run the operation, such as gloves, antiseptic, and so on. Without this item, they cannot treat patients properly. Let's move on to how to overcome it. Number 1, we use non-financial method. Learn from variety of videos on YouTube that teach a variety of topics about investing. Number 2 is make evaluation. Identify the causes of loss in investment. Number 3, conduct some research, background check, and keep a record to avoid any misunderstanding. And the next one is invest in several companies so that if the one goes bankrupt, the others can at least cover the loss. Try to form a community of people who have similar ideas and work in similar industry so that they can share their knowledge with us. So let's move on to the financial method. What we found is Takaful Malaysia have give a product that Takaful My Fire and BNM Investment Linked Business.
So an overall slowdown in economic activities over a long period of time is referred to economic downturn. So it might occur in a single region, for example in the late 1990s with the Asian financial crisis, or on a global scale such as in the late 2000s with the global financial crisis. Causes about economic downturn. So the number 1 is natural disaster. So natural disasters such as floods and earthquakes can cause property damage, and it may occur hard restoration. Hard restoration costs to fix property like building and furniture. So number 2 is spreadable illness and germs, such as COVID-19 has caused the economic downturn in various industries including the healthcare industry. So based on the causes such as spreadable illness and germs, it will lead to falling shares, rising unemployment, declining investment, and low consumer confidence. So number 3 is hazardous waste and pollution. Hazardous waste and pollution such as cleaning and polishing chemicals, motor oils, water pollution, and air pollution nearby. And a lot will affect the patients, and it will cause the healthcare industry bear so many costs. Number 4 is climate change. So climate change covering the health damage or adaptation costs relate to the health effect of climate change, and will respond measures to climate sensitive disease, and it will also cause the economic downturn to the healthcare industry. Okay, next I will explain about the effect. So one of the effect is excessive patient rates. So this is because the spread of infection disease occurs, the rate of patient will increase dramatically. For example, spreadable illness such as COVID-19 has caused an increase in infection rate, and it result in the economic downturn. So secondly, lack of finances for medicine. This is because while the industry faces an economic downturn, it will lead to financial problem. Therefore, the industry will have a problem such as lack of finances to purchase or provide medicine and equipment for the patient. Thirdly, lack of medication can also happen if an economic downturn occurs in the industry. Lack of medication can occur due to excessive patients and lack of finances. This is because when there are so many patients, the medication will decrease dramatically and eventually run out. So lastly, the increases and high wage rate of the professionals. This is because a lot of work and responsibilities of professionals such as doctors cause them to demand high wage. With the economic downturn, this is likely to make the healthcare industry worse, especially in finance. Okay, move to the suggestion to protect the risk of the economic downturn. We have two, which is financial and non-financial. So the financial is number one is Takaful Malaysia, which is the product is Takaful MyFire. So with the product, we may also have optional to cover loss of rent and the following perils with a minimal contribution such as flood. So number two, we have Prudential Bill SN Takaful, which is the product is Pro BSN Aspirasi. So with the product, we can establishing an emergency fund in the most secure way to survive an economic downturn. So the suggestion of non-financial, we have 5, which is we can begin our financial planning by creating an emergency fund. Number 2 is rent a low-cost building to reduce cost liabilities. Number 3 is do not postpone debt payment. For example, consider building rent and employee salary. Number 4 is determine way to reduce spending, such as lowering employee salaries. And lastly is making customer a priority in order for them to become regular.
Furthermore, risk is particular risk, which is the employee safety. Employee safety risk, the maintenance of a safe environment and safe equipment and safe process in the workplace to protect the health and safety of workers is referred to as worker safety. The first factor is emergency preparedness. All forms of disasters, including natural or man-made disasters, pandemic outbreaks, and terrorist attacks, rely significantly on healthcare and medical device screening. Following an operation, medical equipment becomes infected with both visible and hidden bioburden. This bioburden or soil could contain hundreds, if not millions, of potentially infectious organisms, and if used left off a gadget after it has been cleaned poses a risk to the patient. As a result, it is important to take the proper precaution to ensure a thorough cleaning. Communication of critical lab result causes or factors. Critical test results (CTRs) are diagnostic test results that are clinically significant and, if ignored, could result in a serious brain damage. A range of reasons contribute to failure to follow up in ambulatory settings, such as family health teams and FHTS. For example, the system, people, organizational factors, work practice. If diagnosis and treatment are missed or delayed, organizations and their team members may be held liable for professional negligence and malpractice. As a result, healthcare providers must make certain that CTRs are transmitted to the right practitioners as quickly as possible. The last causes is recognition of behavioral health needs. The workplace stress is a primary cause of disease, lost productivity, and human error. This resulted in an increase in sick days, significant staff turnover, and low organizational performance, as well as a likely increase in human error-related mishap. Workplace stress can result in heart disease, back pain, headaches, gastrointestinal issues, or a number of minor elements. Next is the effect of employee safety risk. The first effect is illness and injuries. Few people consider the numerous dangers that healthcare personnel face. Healthcare workers frequently put their own health at danger in the service of others, from the same types of slip and fall incidents that can occur in any workplace to exposure to contagious infection. The second effect is high litigation costs. Issues about inappropriate billing, overcharging, and payment to in and out of network providers are another common issues of healthcare litigation. When it comes to negotiating complex healthcare payment and repayment system, both payers and providers may require support. It is critical to ensure that providers are fairly repaid for their service, as well as that no individuals invoice incorrectly. Next is increase in liability. If the harm was caused while the employee was acting within the range of his or her employment, a healthcare facility such as a hospital could be held responsible for the harm caused by the negligence of one of its employees, such as doctor or nurse. The last effect of employee safety is death. Anxiety, depression, distress, sleep issues, and physical symptoms are some of the most frequent mental health issues that healthcare workers face.
For the financial method of particular risk, which is employee safety, there are two Takaful products we suggested, which is from CIMB Bank, Public Liability Insurance, and from Zurich, Malaysia, Employees Protections Takaful for My Business. For non-financial methods, for particular risk is using monitoring technology to notify staff of emergencies. It also can help to prevent harm from human error. Next, make sure patients understand their treatment by informing them about what kind of treatment that they will receive. Besides, verify medical procedure to prevent any errors such as medication dosage or in any hand washing procedure. Fourth is to use proper hand washing procedure, such as using an alcohol-based sanitizer on a regular basis. And lastly is to ensure patient safety. Foster a team environment while also forming an interdisciplinary risk assessment team.
Financial value risk is the risk of losing money on an investment or business project. Credit risk, liquidity risk, and operational risk are some of the most significant and diverse financial value risks. There are various factors that contribute to the probability of loss of business profit, which is lack of patient, lack of medical equipment, high rental equipment, and lastly is high salary. Next, we move to the effect of lost business profit. If our buyers or patient will lack, the debt of our company will increase. Besides, if the medical equipment are too pricey, the company have to use dangerously ill equipment. A big impact if too many debt, of course, the company not afford to pay the salary of workers. So, of course, the workers will gone. Lastly, the company will having financial pressure. For financial method of financial value risk, which is loss of business profit, there are two Takaful products that has been suggested by ours, which is first is CIMB Bank Biz Protect, and by Etika, which is business insurance and Takaful. Non-financial method for financial value risk is limit liability by changing to a corporation or any limited liability company. Next, implement a quality assurance such as test your product and analyze it in order to assure the highest quality. Then, limit high-risk customer to avoid any complications in the future. Identify poor credit risk in advance. Besides, control growth by focusing more on quality and not quantity. Last but not least, appoint an employee to be ahead of the risk management team to prevent any risk and threats.
Non-financial risks on bad reputation where the damage can occur to a business when it fails to meet the expectation of its stakeholders, and thus negatively perceived is referred to as reputational risks. It can have an impact on any business, regardless of size or industry. They contribute to the firm's marketability and should be protected in order to ensure its long-term viability.
There are various causes that contribute to the profitability of a bad reputation, but the following are some of the most significant ones in the healthcare industry. The first is bad service. After that is poor management, beside lack of safeguarding policy, and lastly is data privacy breach. Next, we move on to the effect of the bad reputation on healthcare industry. First, we're going to lose the patients. Next is the loss of shareholder. Other than that is an increased risk of identity theft, and lastly, clinical error. For the financial method of non-financial value risk, which is bad reputation, there are two Takaful products that have been suggested by which is from CIMB Bank Contractors All Risk Takaful and Zurich Malaysia Flexi Business Takaful.
A few non-financial methods that can be used to improve a bad reputation are as follows. Ensure that employees know how to behave and respond appropriately in any situation. Keep employees happy in order to avoid a bad reputation. Understand stakeholder expectations. Make reputational risk a part of strategy and planning. And last, control process by concentrating on high-quality goods and services.
Okay, next I will also explain about the risk matrix. So risk matrix usually have 4 stage or color, which mean green for the low risk, yellow is mean medium, orange high, and lastly red color which mean extreme risk. So we can see the lowest is economic downturn. We can see it has the impact and likelihood in the first column. So secondly, loss of business profit. It show likelihood and impact share with the column number 2. So move to the next risk, which is medium. We have bad reputation and we can see likelihood in the column number 3 and also the impact. So we have also in the medium risk, which is patient safety. We can see the impact in the 4th column and likelihood in the 1st column. And lastly, we have extreme risk, which is fire and investment fluctuation. For the fire, we can see the impact and likelihood share in the column number 5, and for the investment fluctuation, for the impact in the 5th column and likelihood in the 4th column. So that's all about risk matrix.
So, in conclusion, healthcare is increasingly expanding into the house, involving a mix of individuals, a variety of jobs, and a wide range of instruments and technologies. It also occurs in a variety of residential settings, raising healthcare costs, raising numbers of seniors, raising prevalence of chronic disease, improve survival rates of various disease, injuries, and other conditions, including those of unstable newborn. Large number of veterans returning from war with serious injuries, and wide range of technological innovation are all driving this migration. The quality and cost of the healthcare that result vary greatly in terms of safety, effectiveness, and efficiency, as well as quality and cost.